Hi, and welcome to the second to the last, number 12 of our 13-session beginning class. So today you'll finish the form, and then the next session we'll review it and do a little more with you and give you some ideas about how to practice. So I would like to start by showing you a little drill. Take a 70-30, and these drills are a nice way to kind of wake up your body and bring some awareness to a certain part of the Tai Chi movement. So in a 70-30, and I don't care which leg you put first, we'll do it both ways. What I want to do is become more skilled with the use of legs and hips. And this is a great way to do that. So you're in a 70-30, I want you to just sit into your back leg. Now, turn toward your back leg, leaving your front leg behind. So, in particular, the knee is not coming with it. Now you're on top of the back leg. Come forward, still facing the same direction, the same corner. When you're in your front leg, I want you to draw yourself toward the front leg. So this is separating, shifting, and turning to become more cognizant of your hip joints. So do it again. Turn to the outside. Shift forward without turning, and then shift toward that leg. Now let's try it on the other side, and we'll do more of this. But I just want you to get both sides working. So 70-30, your hips are facing the same direction as your front foot. Sit onto your back leg. Now move away from your front foot, your front leg, your front knee, turning yourself to the corner. Shift back into your front leg and now turn toward it till you're squared up to the front. So shift and turn, letting this go. Shift and then turn into the front leg. And one more time, into the back and turn, into the front and turn. Now take a break for a moment. If you were in class with us, we would say, okay, here's a little pop quiz. Put your hands up in the air and then put your hands on your hip joints. And what often happens is people put their hands out here. This is what we think of as our hips. This is actually what a part of your pelvis that's known as the iliac crest. It's not the joint. It's not the moving part. Your hip joint is at the top of your thigh. There's a ball that fits into a socket that's in your pelvis. That is your hip joint. So if you put your hands down here, then congratulations, you found your hip joints. If you put your hands here, you're like most people and you don't have a distinction between hips and hip joints. So this exercise, this drill that we're doing, is about the hip joints. When we say turn the waist, one of the mechanics of that is that you turn the torso on top of your thigh. That's the joint. So find that place that moves. You know, stand here, use your fingers to feel where that joint is. It's very close into your center line. Now let's do this drill again. So one leg forward, good 70-30. Sit into the back leg, and what you're going to do is go toward the back leg that's closing the rear hip joint and moving away, opening the front hip joint. Shift. Now you're going to close the front hip joint as you open the rear. So this is a great little exercise, but you need to pay attention to the moment in particular when you close one, the other needs to be opening. So this is how it would work if I don't open this hip joint. I close this one, and see what happened to this leg, how it came with me? This is not what we want. This is going to not help. I want to keep my knee in place. When I shift and turn, now this is stable. I get onto this leg, I leave this one behind. I turn on top of this stable leg, and see, I leave this knee out there where it was. One of the clues will be what's happening at the bottom of your foot. Thank you, Lee. So when I don't open the rear leg and I turn like this, I'm rolling on the inside of that foot. When I'm not stable on this leg and I turn, and this knee moves when the weight is on it, I'm going to feel that at the bottom of my foot. My foot is rolling to the outside. So whichever leg has the weight should be stable. Now I'm going to come to this one. This knee should not change now. This one can, because it's the emptying, opening, releasing one. But here I'm closing, and this leg becomes a stable leg. When I sit onto the back leg, now I want both sets of tripods to stay on the ground. This is my stable place. I need to turn on top of it without disturbing the knee. So it's a nice drill to get you, go ahead and change legs. Thanks for being my visual aid there. And I'll do it on the other side. You might find that it's easier on one side than the other. That's natural, that we're not as symmetrical as we appear. But go ahead, sit onto the back leg, leaving the front leg behind, leaving the foot flat on the ground, and keeping a nice stable relationship. The tripod, the knee, everything is stable, and you're turning over that leg. Then you shift to the front leg. Now this is going to be the stable one, and you need to turn without having it get disturbed or wobble. So if you do this for a few minutes as the start of your practice, before you do a form, it will alert you to using your hip joints and how they work, and get you, you might feel it in your hip joints, a little bit of the kind of soreness that comes from working someplace that isn't used to being worked. It should not cause pain. If there's a sharp pain, that's a problem, but it shouldn't cause pain. It should just give you a little bit of awareness of the use of that joint. So doing this a few times on each side will really help get the skills that you want to save your knees, number one, and turn the waist and make everything more unified. So one of the things about doing this is that if I can turn in my hip joint to bring myself to the front, I won't be tempted to come to the front from up here and leave myself all twisted. I'll get myself aligned in a way that unifies the body better. So now that you've done that drill for a couple minutes, let's do a first third all the way up to the final push. Okay, and begin. Okay. Did you notice how much you're turning in your hip joints when you do this? I want to do another first third, and I'll keep reminding you of how the hip joints are involved in turning the waist as we go through it. So let's do another one. And begin. So right away, turning in the hip joint. And when you square to the front to complete the posture, you're turning your hip in your hip joint. Same thing happens here. Stable front leg, turn toward it. Turn a little further. Now you're stable on the rear leg, leaving the front leg behind as you turn. Foot stays flat on the ground even as it has no weight in it. Now going into single whip is all about turning in the hip joints. Left leg is stable, you turn over it. Shift to the right, now you turn over the stable right leg. And you open and step. More weight into your left leg, turn toward it. And now you open. Turning away from your right leg to keep the knee aligned with the foot. It's stable, you turn over it, using the hip joint to leave the knee in place. Now you're turning into your left leg. The right leg is stable. Turn over it, leaving the left leg behind. Now, turning into the left. And again. Turning in the hip joint to square up and go past the corner, past square to the corner. Great, rest your legs. So this skill that is developed by doing that little drill is going to help you all through the form. And it will stabilize your legs so that your knees don't end up getting tossed around. If you're having knee pain, a sharp pain under the kneecap, this is probably what's causing it. So bring more attention to the bottom of your foot and making sure that the knee is always tracking the same direction as the toes when the weight is in that leg. And that means that you have to be able to move on top of the leg without moving the leg with you when you turn. So this change here is what's going to save your knees as well as awareness down in your foot. So let's review that last move, the as if closing as if sealing, apparently closing, what we call withdraw and push. So let's take it from the punch, and we'll just do it a couple times. I'll face you so you watch my hands, and Lee will face the direction that you're used to facing. So you've got two different views. You can play it twice if you need to watch each version of it. So from the punch. A little more weight into your left leg. Open the punch and let your left hand come in under your armpit, behind your elbow. Sit onto your back leg. As you do that, turning is what draws the hands to cross hands. And then turn back to the front. That draws the hands apart. And come forward and push. And if you just replace your hands again, turn, shift to the back and turn. Sink back to the front and push 70-30. And once more, just flowing through it. Turn, shift and turn, sink, turn back to the front and push. Great. Now there's some ideas that we work with about how the armpit nest, if you will, works, how we relate to our arms. And the idea is that there's a couple of images. One is as if you had eggs under your armpits, so you don't want to squish them and you don't want to drop them. Another image is steamed buns, you know, those Chinese steamed buns. So you got little steamed buns under your armpits. You don't want to hold it too tight or it's going to burn, and you don't want to drop them. But in either case, the idea is that there's a little bit of space here. You don't want to be held tight and crunched right here. And what that does in this move, if I'm kind of, you know, I've got yolk dripping down my sides here because I've squished my egg, then when I do this, I have no choice but to reach. I'm all closed up on myself, and it's not an open, relaxed place. But once I get that eggs or steamed buns resting gently under my armpits, if I can maintain that, then it puts more demands on the hip joint. I have to turn the waist to make this happen, but there's still a little bit of space here. This is a little free and open. And then when I sit back, same thing. I'm not pulled into myself. I've got a little bit of room for the body to move without getting caught up on itself. The other thing that goes with this is the notion of weighted elbows. So like if there was just a little weight hanging off your elbows. This is not what you do. It doesn't mean push your elbows down, and it doesn't mean your elbows have to always point down. Think of white crane. Well, my elbow is pointing down, but it's not pointing down. So if I were like this, I don't have a weighted elbow. If I'm like this, I'm making it happen, but I've got the soft armpit nest, and the elbow has the quality of being a pivot point, a balance point. If I do this, now the elbow is lifted, and you can go ahead and play around like this with me and just feel the difference. If I push it straight down, that closes everything off. If I lift it up, it puts tension up in the shoulder. If I can relax the shoulder and let the elbow dangle a little bit, hang there, then I've got this nice freedom in the armpit area, and the elbow is not making my shoulder become tense. At the same time, it's making the hand feel light. So if you move into this position, it's not a heavy hand, it's a hand that balances around an elbow. And so this balancing of the arm around the elbow is always going to be true. Looking for that feeling is going to give your hands a certain amount of lightness. You know, if I were to do a move where I'm not around the elbows, everything gets kind of caught up here. As soon as I let the elbows go, it brings the whole energy of the movement more into the ground and gives me more space and more relaxation. So this quality of the space under the armpits, along with the balancing of the arm around the elbow, is part of how our hands end up where we want them to go. So with that in mind, let's do the last move from, actually let's start at the last brush knee so that we can go through the punch and all that as well. And begin. So, space under the armpits. Your hands are light. They balance around your elbows. Space under the armpits. Arms balance around the elbows. Hands are light. Great. So, this feeling, go look for that wherever your movements are happening, and you will find that it's a lot easier to get your hands where you want them to go. So let's do one more first third up through push, bringing some awareness to armpits, elbows, and light hands. And of course, part of what goes with this is that the shoulders are hanging and heavy, and that way you can feel the arms moving as a result of what the body is doing, rather than it being a bunch of motions that you're making in the upper body with your arms. So let's do another first third up to that push, and then I'll turn it over to Lee, and he'll give you the final move to get you back at the beginning, and you will have a complete form. So as you stand here, get those steam buns under the armpits. You can kind of wave your arms around a little bit till you figure out what it feels like to have a little concavity, a little space there. And begin. Now remember, the arms are balanced around the elbows. The hands are light. And yeah, sure, you'd be dropping the buns. It's not, you know, that's not what you're doing, is worrying about dropping the buns. Continue. A little bit of space. Arms balance around the elbows. Hands are light. So even when your arm is in a ward-off position, the elbow can still be your balance point and help you keep your shoulders relaxed. Elbows drop, but keep a little space under the armpits. Hands feel light. Arms rebalance around the elbows. So a little bit like a mobile, you're always balancing what's happening so that the arms have a quality of freedom. Keeping the space under the armpits, even as your hands come closer together. Pivoting around the elbow. Elbows are weighted, hands are light. Space under the armpits. Okay, so now we'll close up this first third and you will have a completed form to practice.
And here we are. Let's finish this thing up. So let me show you the final move in the form, and then I'll walk it through with you little bit by little bit, and then we'll do another first third, and you'll have the whole thing. So I'm going to face the exact opposite way from how you normally are facing as we do this, so you can see my hands. So I'm in the punch. I do withdraw and push. You sit back and turn, which separates the hands. You shift your weight. You allow the hands to make a big circle like you're embracing the whole world. You step back to the original bear stance position and shift 50-50. The hands cross and you stand up. You're back at the beginning. There's a cute little close where then you go back to the V. Now you're exactly back where you started. So let's do that. We'll do it together. I'll face the same way that you'll be facing, as will Beth. So take it from the punch. More weight forward, left palm up under right armpit. Sit back, sliding the right hand over the left wrist till the hands cross. Drop the elbows, palms turn out, and push. Okay, so now sit back all the way and allow your arms to extend diagonally up. And just come back into the push. And sit back all the way, allow the arms to extend along that diagonal upward trajectory. And once more, into the push. Sit back, arms extending diagonally up. Great. Take a break. So this is different from when we did the push earlier, we're earlier on. And when you sit back, the forearms lay down parallel to the ground. In this one, they don't do that. You're not sitting back and laying the arms down. What's happening is they're going along this trajectory, and you're just sitting back and letting them go up as you do that. So, from the push, sit back, allow the arms to extend diagonally up. Now at this point, all your weight is in your right foot. And so turn towards the front of the room, pivoting on the left heel, letting the two hands separate. And so look the shape I'm in here. Ben Lowe, one of our teachers, would call this like a W. So here's the W on Beth, W. Not a diamond. There's the diamond that she made. So great, take a break. So when I come back and I do this, I sit back, I turn, and my two hands separate. So the right hand draws a big arc, and the left hand just comes with my body. I want to make sure to lead with the side of the hand. That'll get me to the W versus leading with my elbow. If I lead with the elbow, I'll end up in the diamond. I want to be in the W. So let's do it again from the punch. More weight forward, left palm up under right armpit. Sit back, take the right hand over the left wrist till the arms cross. Sink, elbows drop, palms turn out, and push. Sit back, arms extend diagonally up, and turn, pivoting on the left heel. Hands separate like a W, not a diamond. Back to the push. Sit back, forearms extend diagonally up. Turn the waist, separate the two hands like a W, not a diamond. Once more, from the push. Sit back, forearms extend. Turn the waist, hands separate. Now at this point, all your weight's in your right foot. So shift into the left. As you do that, let the right foot pivot on the ball and let the hands make a big circle. They end up palm up here by your thighs, and your right foot has pivoted on the ball. Take a break. So, showing you those pieces. I'm in the push. I sit back, my forearms extend. I turn, separating the two hands. I shift. As I shift from my right leg into my left leg, I'm going to let my right foot pivot on the ball. So that'll just happen. As you shift your weight, you just sort of let this right leg play out on the ball. You're not trying to turn it, but just sort of let it pivot on the ball. And as that happens, the two hands make a big rounded shape. We tend to call this embracing the whole world. And they end up here with the hands in front of my thighs and the palms are up. So as the hands are dropping, they're rotating. And what's happening is I'm leading with the pinky side of both hands. As long as I keep that the leading part, the hands will end up palm up at the bottom. So let's do it again. From the punch. More weight forward, left palm up under right armpit. Sit back, drawing the right hand over the left wrist, hands cross. Sink, elbows drop into rear root, palms turn out, and push. Sit back, forearms extend diagonally up. Turn your waist, hands separate like a W, not a diamond. Shift the weight, embrace the whole world, leading with the pinky side. Let the right foot pivot on the ball. At the final checkpoint here, your palms are up, they're here by your thighs. Again, from the push, sit back, turn the waist, shift the weight, embracing the whole world, right foot pivots on ball. And once more, from the push, sit back, forearms extend diagonally up, turn the waist, leading with the pinky side of the right hand like a W, not a diamond. Shift the weight, embrace the whole world. Right foot pivots on ball. Palms are up by your thighs. Now bring your right foot back so that it'll be feet parallel, toes in a line. Shift 50-50, and as you do that, let the two hands cross, right hand on the outside. I know you can't see through my body, so let me turn and face so you can see what's happening. Yeah. So you sit back, you turn the waist, the hands separate, you embrace the whole world, the right foot is pivoted on the ball. You bring the right foot back, so I'm trying to bring it back so that I'll end up feet parallel, shoulder wide, just like in the beginning. So I bring the right foot back. I shift 50-50. As I do that, the two hands cross. So see how my hands are here. My right hand came up on the outside. My left hand headed towards the top right corner. So the two hands have a path that each of them is making towards the other opposite corner. And as they do that, the two hands end up crossed. Watch here to make sure you stay body upright. It's easy when you do this to end up leaning over. And I'm still sitting down. I'm still sitting down here. So again, from the punch. More weight forward, left palm up under right armpit. Sit back, crossing the hands. Elbows drop, palms turn out, and push. Sit back. Turn the waist to separate the two hands. Embrace the whole world. Hands rotate, palms up. Right foot is pivoted on the ball. step and shift, cross the hands. And now nice and easy, just stand up. Let the hands drop, back to the opening position. So let's do that again from the push. Shift, turn, shift, let the right foot pivot on the ball, pick up the right foot, shift 50-50, cross hands, and stand up, letting the hands drop. Once more from the push. Sit back, forearms extend. Turn the waist to separate the two hands like a W, not a diamond. Shift, embracing the whole world, leading with the pinky side of the hands, palm up at the bottom. Bring the right foot back, shift 50-50, hands cross, and stand up, letting the hands come down. So you can see So notice how my hands are synchronized with my standing up. From this place, if I sit down and let the hands cross, they finish crossing just as I reach the bottom. When I stand up, the hands arrive at their position just as I finish standing up. So you don't want to sit down and then move the hands, and stand up and then move the hands, or move the hands, then sit down, move the hands, then stand up. Get them exactly synchronized so that the hands are crossed and the hands arrive right at the end here. If you keep working with us in person or on video, we will spend more time than most people want doing this, standing up and sitting down. And it's really important because part of what happens in Tai Chi is we want all the motion of the body to be synchronized. We want one motion in the center, in the Dantian, to play out through the whole body, hands and feet. And you want everything to start together and finish together. And so when you first start practicing, the way that you all are now as you're watching this video, you're going to have to make that happen. You're going to have to meter out your sitting down and you're standing up so that they match what's happening in your hands. So you know you've got this much to sit down and this much to stand up, and you know your hands have to go from there to here and back, and you're going to have to make the two of those fit together. And what you're doing by doing that is you're creating a condition where all the parts of the body are in the correct alignment and the correct positioning so that you can start to actually power the movements. You can actually start to drive the shapes you're making from the waist and the legs. And that's really one of the primary goals that we want in Tai Chi, is that all of our movement is integrated and it's all motivated by what's happening in the legs and directed by the changes in the waist. So when Beth's talking about this stuff with the hip joints, actually working those, she's showing you how do you really turn the waist, and that's what you're going to use to direct the motion in Tai Chi Chuan. That takes some time. And so you're going to have to start out by just getting all the pieces in alignment so that you've got a chance of actually starting to feel that powered in the legs and waist and aimed by what you're doing with the hips and waist. So you got to get this coordinated, and there's no time like now to start. So I sit back, I turn, I'm embracing the whole world, the hands are rotating, I step, I shift, I stand up. Just when I finish standing up, my hands have arrived, and I'm right exactly back to where we were when we did the opening posture. Then to close, I put all my weight into my left leg, I turn my waist, and that turns the right foot out. I shift into the right foot, and now I bring the heels together, and I stand up. I'm back in the V. So now that you've got the whole first third, and we'll do a complete first third, I'll run through these moves again another time or two, but now that you've got the whole first third, a great practice is to do 3 first thirds in the morning. Do the animals, or do the bear, or do this separated shifting and turning exercise that Beth just showed you. Do one of those to warm up for, a couple minutes, and then do 3 first thirds. And when you, finish one, then just start the next. And go through the whole thing till you end up back here at the end and close. And then start the next. If you do that, you will be practicing pretty much the same amount of time as it takes to do the entire complete form. And the first third is great. It's got everything in it. So you've got all the pieces now. So let's do this again another couple times. We'll start at the punch the first time and then push the next couple times. And then we'll do a whole first section of the form. So from the punch. Weight forward, fist opens up, left palm up under right armpit. Sit back, drawing the right hand over the left wrist. Sink, elbows drop, palms turn out, and push. Sit back, let the forearms extend diagonally up. Turn the waist to separate the 2 hands, like a W, not a diamond. Shift the weight, pivot on the ball of the right foot, embracing the whole world. Bring the foot back, shift 50-50 and cross hands. And stand up, hands finish just as you finish standing up. Nice to spend a breath or two here. And then close. Shift to the left, turn the right foot out on the heel. Shift to the right, the waist comes back to the front. Bring the heels together and shift 50-50 and stand up. Great. From the push, shift, turn, shift, step and shift 50-50, cross hands, stand up, back to the beginning, and close. Shift to the left, turn out the right foot. Shift to the right. Bring the left heel in, 50-50. Stand up. And once more from the push. Sitting back, forearms extend diagonally up. Turning the waist, leading with the right pinky side and pivoting on the left heel. Shift, lead with the pinky sides of both hands, pivot on the right ball. Palms up by your thighs. Step back, shift 50-50, hands cross, right hand on the outside. You're still sitting down, so you can stand up. As you do that, the hands drop. Everything finishes together. Closing, shifting to the left, turning to the right, right foot pivots on heel. All the weight to the right, waist back to the front. Bring the heels together, shift 50-50. And stand up. Great. So now you've got the whole first section of the form, and this is a complete form. So this is a great basis for practice. You can get all the depth of Tai Chi in here. You can also keep learning more, and we'll talk about where you go next from that the next time. But feel accomplished. If you've made it all the way through here, you're actually practicing, which is awesome. That's great. You're teaching yourself how to learn new moves, which is really challenging. It's really hard to look at another person and see what they're doing and then make it happen in your own body. And so if you've gotten this far, then you're doing that. You're starting to get some of the movement principles that we work with in Tai Chi. Beth talked about the eggs under the armpits. She talked about the weighted elbows. She talked about how you're actually using the hip joints opening and closing. So you're starting to get experience with those. And that's the stuff that, as you explore it more, will deepen your practice and bring you more in touch with how you actually move, how the energy is transported through the body, and how you can do things internally that cause a relationship to the outside world. And that's what we're trying to do in Tai Chi Chuan, is really find a different way of occupying our space and of relating to the space around you. And it is super cool. This is, you've been working through this for 12 lessons now, someplace at least 6 weeks, possibly months. And, you're just scratching the surface now. So I want to encourage you to keep working with this and keep enjoying the depth of this practice, because it is really pretty amazing. And so now you're Tai Chi players, you're in the club, and you've got the chance to let this keep rolling through you, your experience, and the way you relate to the world. And that is a profound and wonderful thing. So, as all of you are now in the club, let's do the whole first third, start to finish, and then we'll let you practice for a little bit, and then you can come back and work with the 13th class, where we'll review everything that we've covered in this time, and we'll look at the 5 principles: relax, separate, empty, and full, turn the waist, body upright, beautiful ladies' hands. We'll look at those with respect to the first third. But you've got the first third now, which is a real achievement, so great. Let's do it. I won't talk, just enjoy and follow along. And go ahead. Great. Keep practicing. Yes, that's right. We always give everybody a round of applause when they finish. So there's your virtual round of applause. And keep it up. Thank you.